Hey folks, for this assignment, Histograms and Technology, I would like to introduce you to the idea that our online textbook comes with a lot of data sets that we can use to explore and to get a feel for how to do different types of calculations and create different types of graphs. Let's see here. So anyways, the thing is though, is like so many things in this world, it's not always easy to take the data that we have and get it into a system that we would like to use in order to analyze the data. So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit today. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at, there is something interesting in your etext book on page 50 where it says dot plots or dot plot, and there's a big button there. We're going to go and click on that button. So I'm going to get into my math lab, the usual way that we try to, and then I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and hopefully this is me. Just want to remind you guys how to get into my math lab. Now for me, I have several different courses listed, but it's basically you should just have one from me. Then we'll go to eTextbook Contents. Because we're looking at histograms, that's chapter 3. And then eText. Now I could actually go and I could search for what I'm looking for. It's really dot plots on page 50. So I could go and search for dot plots, or I could go right to page 50 because I know that's where I want to go. That's what I'm going to do. By the way, you'll notice I did not search when I went to page 50. I clicked on the navigation button, and then instead of sliding the slider up and down, I simply typed the number in the box at the top, 50. It's a pretty handy dandy way. Now, the thing that I wanted to show you is that next to dot plots, there's a little button. And that little button is going to take us to a free software program that comes with our e-textbook. And that free software program is called statcrunch. So I'm going to click on it, and you should too. It's telling me I should sign in. I should not have to sign in. It's part of the textbook. I'm having a little bit of a problem. Let me double check, see what's wrong, and I'll be right back. Well, I used the standard troubleshooting technique. I simply closed the page and then I re-clicked on the button and it worked. So let's try that. There we go. Beautiful. So here's some data. And the data that they have is the data that's being discussed in the textbook here. Something about some Kentucky Derby winning times. And they actually show a dot plot here. We're going to go ahead and produce that ourselves using statcrunch. So anyways, again, after I click on this button, it takes me to a software program called statcrunch. And I will admit to you that statcrunch has a lot of functionality. There's a lot of things you could do with it to get answers to questions in this class. However, statcrunch is not what you will be using in the real world. If you go to take a job that involves statistics, or even if you just take a stats class in college, you're probably not going to be doing the number crunching in statcrunch. Instead, you would probably use Google Sheets or the R software that we looked at when we did stem and leaf plots. And so anyways, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this data. I'm going to try to move the data from here someplace where we can do a dot plot. And although I will admit the place we're going to go to a website called codeapp. And it tells us that in the Canvas assignment. It says we're going to do dot plot using codeapp. And I think if you click there, I think it actually takes you into codeapp and the data's there. Anyways, let me try it. I'm just going to go Google codeapp. And fortunately, there's not a whole lot of codapps out there in the world. So we'll click on the main link at the top. And then we'll go ahead and click on Launch Codeapp, that button. Please click on that upper right corner button. Now, in this case, we're going to create a new document, although there is a lot of examples that are pretty interesting. But we're going to create a new document. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to get the data from statcrunch over to codeapp. And you'll see why in a minute. So what we'll do is in statcrunch, I'm going to say Edit, Select All, and then I'm going to do Control-C. Now, some of you might try using the menu, edit, copy, but all it does is it come up and tell you to do Control-C. Now, if you're on a Mac, remember, use Command-C to copy instead of Control-C. And that's all Control-C does is copy. So I'm going to come back over here to codeapp, and I'm going to click on Tables, and then New. And then to paste all my data in here, it's not obvious at all. What we're going to do is click on this ruler, and we're going to say import case data from clipboard. That's what happens when you copy data. It goes into the clipboard. So we're going to import the case data. Here we go. And hopefully we'll see a bunch. Oh, first it asks us, would you like to replace the existing data set? Yeah, sure. We got nothing in there, so yes. And there we go. Bunch of data, and it looks kind of similar to what we saw in StatCrunch a minute ago. Now, I will be the first to admit, sometimes when you're trying to copy and paste, things might go wrong. If they do, just start over and try it again, and I suspect it'll work just fine. Okay, now that we've got this data from the textbook about the Kentucky Derby winning times, remember, we moved it through StatCrunch and then into codeapp. Now we can go ahead and try to begin to visualize the data using dot plots. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and click on Graph. And in order to get the data into the graph, we just click and drag. First, I'm going to try time in seconds. I'm going to drag it down here to the x-axis. Remember, when we're dealing with histograms or stem and leaf plots or dot plots, we are dealing with single variable data that goes on the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and release, and there it is. Pretty cool, I hope you think. And so anyways, there are a couple interesting things about this dot plot. One is that we can see clearly there's two groups of dots that are apart from one another, and I'd like to talk more about that in class. This video is mainly just to show you how to get data from the textbook to StatCrunch to other software like codeapp. And codeapp we're going to use in addition to Colab with R, programming software, because codeapp does some things better than, or more easily than R. So we're going to try several different tools, and we'll even try Google Sheets for some things, because each tool has its own advantages. And I'd like to expose you to multiple ways to solve a problem. Okay, so one other thing I'd like to show you here is we're going to do another dot plot. Let me see if I can show you this. Maybe speed. Let's try a graph. And let's see what happens. Oh, I know what it is. There is, I think there's an example data set that's built in that I'd like us to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here to the menu in codeapp and say Open. And are you sure you want to open a new document? Yeah, even though I have unsaved changes. And then we're going to look in the example documents, and we're going to go to roller coasters. And then say Open again. And then here we can see a bunch of data about roller coasters all throughout the United States. Yay, very cool. Fun. We love roller coasters. Anyways, so we've got a couple of graphs down here, but there's no data in them. So what I'd like to do is play around with getting some data into these graphs. Let's see here. I will, for one thing, I'm kind of curious about the tallest drop. So I'm going to drag that baby down into the x-axis. And this is what the dot plot looks like, kind of interesting. And I'm also kind of interested in, let's see, is there anything else that I could draw on this other one? Maybe top speed, possibly? Let's try that. And two very different looking dot plots. So again, hopefully we'll be discussing the shape of these distributions in class. Something else that I want to show you that's a unique feature of codeapp, and it's really very cool, at least I hope you would agree that that's true, is that sometimes in codeapp we can take other variables and we can sort of mash them together with the ones that are already in the graph. So for instance, some of these roller coasters are made out of steel, and some of them are made from wood. And as I go down the list, you can see I'm going to go and take that type, and I'm going to drag it down, not into the x-axis, not into the y-axis, but I'm going to drag it down into the middle of the graph the graph of the tallest drops of various roller coasters, and I'm going to release it. And what happens here is that I get a little legend, and it says that the red dots are the wooden roller coasters, and the green dots are the steel roller coasters. This graphical ability in codeapp is pretty cool because it makes it so we can analyze data in new and interesting ways. So I wanted to show you that, and hopefully you will play with it and see how that works for yourself. What else? I think that's, something else that's kind of cool is I'm going to go ahead and click on one of the dots here in my dot plot, and let's see what happens. I'm just going to go ahead and click on a random dot. Look what happens. It brings up the data for that dot. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to go click on another dot in case you weren't paying attention the first time. Here I go. Boom. It just brings up that piece of information. I think that's so cool. Okay, now, something else that's kind of neat is if I click and I select one of these pieces of information, I think they get highlighted on the dot plot, and maybe in both. So let me try that. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here. And sure enough, in Minnesota, there's 3 different roller coasters. When I clicked Minnesota, it lit up a dot here, here, and also these 3 dots over here. So codeapp is just a really cool tool for visualizing data. Okay, anyways, mainly what I wanted to do is I wanted to expose you to how to create your own dot plots using technology, and I wanted you to see how to get the data from the textbook into StatCrunch and then into some other software program, in this case, codeapp, because we want to be able to have multiple ways to visualize our data. All right, congratulations. Let's see here. I think that's it for now.